This video will cover the details of selling a cash-secured puts. Most of the concepts are already covered in my previous part of this series. Would recommend to watch them before proceeding with this video, though I will try to recap at very high level on key items before diving into it. Okay, let me recap them now. For selling puts also, similar to selling calls, theta, which is the time decay, plays a major part. Apart from that, RSI, Relative Strength Index, is one of the metric I used in previous video, also used as an indicator, though it's not the only indicator to rely on. So, combining them will give you one of the trading strategy, and again it's not the only one. We also saw some of the critical items mentioned in the call and put contract, which we will use in this video. The put contract had couple of scenarios. I will use one of the case, which is in favor of the seller. For selling the puts, the seller is assuming that the stock which the contract is being made, is making a bullish move, but the buyer is thinking it will be bearish. So, you must sell a put only when you think that the stock is going to stay the same or going to move up. Here in these scenarios, case 1 and case 2 are in favor of seller, whereas, case 3 is in favor of buyer. I will quickly recap the case 2 here. Here, the seller writes a contract for Apple with strike price of $130, which will expire on December 30th. Both the seller and buyer waits till the expiry date. In this case, we are assuming the Apple price will move up. Let's take that Apple closed at $140 on December 30th. Now, since it's out of the money, the seller walks away with premium. The buyer could have exited or transferred. Hope you got a quick recap. If it's not giving you any idea on what I was talking about, I would recommend again to go over the series from start. Okay, now let's dive into the core of this video. What is a cash secured puts? Here, you are selling a put contract for which you have sufficient amount of cash position, which is secured in case the contract expired against your favor and you have to buy those 100 shares. In the covered call scenario, we saw in previous part, that the seller is holding 100 shares to write one contract. Here, instead of having 100 shares, all you need to have is cash to buy those 100 shares for which the contract is made. When the contract is active, the cash position can't be used for any other purpose. Now you know what is cash secured puts. Let's see in why you even want to sell a put contract. Couple of scenarios to list here. You don't want to have your cash idle and make some money out of it to generate some income. Or, you want to buy some stock at lower price. Interesting. Can you buy a stock at lower price? Partially yes. We'll show them in few minutes. But let's also see when is the right time to sell them. There are few indicators which can be used to see if the stock has oversold. But this is not the foolproof method, but it will give some guidance. Individuals have to do the right research on why it's oversold before selling the contract. Another indicators are, if there are good news or catalyst, or even some upgrades which can trigger the stock to move up. Let's now look into the scenarios. Generate income. You have to first select the stock which you are going to sell. Then select the right duration of the contract. The lower the duration, higher the decay. But you can repeat the same again and again, if you are making the right decision. Also critical it is to make sure when you are selling them too. If you see this Apple stock which you had bought 2 years back at $135. You can sell it puts for every 3 months, and if you see here, the price was hitting $135 mark multiple times. You could have collected some premium multiple times. Let's see what that could approximately in the options chain. If you see the at the money contract for $135 for 3 months was approximately $625. Which is 4% of your cash position secured for this contract. Within a year, you could have collected 12%. This is a good return, right? Now, let's look into the interesting scenario to buy the stock at lower price. Either you can wait for it to go low. But how can you even predict how much low it will go or when it will go, right? The other way is to sell puts. Take this Apple stock as example. You saw that Apple stock hit $125 few days back. But it rallied to $135. Now, you want to buy the stock at $125. Instead of selling the put for at the money, which is right now $135. You do a sell put for strike price $125. Or, even go further low price, but the premium will be lower for deep out of the money contracts. It will be benefit either ways for you. If it goes below $125, then your contract gets assigned and you get to own the Apple stock at $125 minus the premium collected, which will be your cost basis. Or, if the stock moves up, you just keep the premium and then you can write another puts to secure your position for new price or collect premium. You can also use the duration to collect more premium to reduce the cost basis. Hope you now got the idea of selling puts for the scenarios walked through in the video. Few things to note and recollect here. Low volatile stock means low premium and at the same time low risk. High volatile stock will give you high premium, but at the same time high risk if you really do not want to own that stock for long term. Use long expiry if you think you are okay to collect more premium and are willing to own the stock at the strike price. One quick tips here. I had mentioned that you need to secure your cash for writing a contract. A trick to do here is, actually you can use your margin to sell a put. In this case, there are no margin debit, since you are collecting the premium and the cash is actually not used unless the contract gets assigned. But the risk here is that, if it's get assigned then you will get into margin call. So, make your risk assessment to play with margin. I also have to list the limitations of selling a put. If in case you bought 100 shares of some stock, then if the stock goes high, you can enjoy the upside. But with sell puts, the max is the premium you have collected. Also, for buying a stock, you can buy less than 100 shares, but in the case of this contract, the cash must be reserved for 100 shares. Wrapping up here, if the stock is moving sideways or moving up, it's good for selling puts. If the stock is moving downwards, then it's bad for selling a puts. I will cover something interesting in future part of this series, where you can make this bad to a good. Stay tuned. Reiterating it again, this theta and RSI are not the only combination to sell a contract. There are other ways and other indicators too. Let's log in to the Webull to sell a put for the scenario 2 which we saw previously. Here, similar to covered call, for selling put, there are no separate category. It's just the single option category which needs to be selected, since the holding is just the cash position. As long as that's satisfied, selling puts will be executed. Else, when you try to execute the contract, any brokerage will stop you from selling the contract if you don't have enough cash to satisfy the contract or sufficient margin to cover the contract if in case your account is having margin enabled. Here for the 90-day expiry, you can select the strike price of $125. You can see that you are being credited with $110. As I said earlier, the out-of-the-money contract will have lower premium. But, here your goal is to buy Apple stock at $125 and not to generate income. In this graph, you can see that the upside of this contract is limited to the premium collected. But the downside is the full cost basis, since any stock can go to $0. So, picking the right stock is very critical irrespective of buying them directly or through option strategy. Building an option strategy is very important. So, tools will always help us to simplify the process. One such thing I was using is this optionstrat.com. This tool will help you get a bird's eye view of the profits and losses based on the strike price, duration, etc. I am not going to deep dive into this tool, just introducing to yet another tool like barchart.com which I mentioned in my previous video. These tools are very critical to guide you to buy, sell options but not a tool to point you to the right stock or option strategy. Hope pointing to these tools are helpful for you. Hope you got a fair idea about selling cash secured puts. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you like to watch similar videos and help my channel. Thank you. See you in another video.